Great news as Guyana receives some $12.1 billion for first million barrels of oil, and Bank of Guyana asks local banks to reduce interest rates, defer loan payments, and waive ATM fees. It's Friday, March 20. We have lots to tell you. Thanks for joining us. Guyana has received $55 million US or 12.1 billion Guyana dollars for the first lift of the country's 1 million barrels of oil, which was sold to Shell Western Supply and Trading Limited in February. Finance Minister, the Honorable Winston Jordan, said the money has been deposited into the Natural Resources Fund.
Minister Jordan made this disclosure on Thursday during an interview with the National Communications Network.
The fund has roughly 55 million US in it right now that has been put in there, deposited from our force 1 million barrel. So that fund will not be available to the government in this period here, right, in this period. But it will be available to a successive government.
The first lift was part of Guyana's profit-sharing agreement and does not include the 2% royalties. The country is entitled to approximately 5 million barrels of oil in 2020. Additionally, CNOOC is scheduled to lift its first cargo of crude from the Liza oil project. CNOOC has a 25% stake in the Stabroek block as part of a consortium with operators ExxonMobil and Hess. For InfoHub, Anara Khan.
Meantime, the Minister of Finance has refuted spurious allegations about his role and duties during the current political impasse. Referencing Article 2193 of the Constitution, the minister said he continues to function within the ambit of the Constitution.
Where at any time Parliament has been dissolved, as in this case, before any provision or any sufficient provision is made under this title for the carrying on of the government of Guyana, the minister responsible for finance may authorize the withdrawal of such sums from the consolidated fund as he or she may consider necessary for the purpose of meeting expenditure on the public services until the expiry of a period of 3 months, commencing with the date on which the National Assembly force meets after dissolution.
This means that the finance minister has a wide latitude for spending purposes once the criteria is met for the government's operations. Minister Jordan said there is a clear distinction between the dissolved parliament and one which is in session.
When the parliament is in session, the government is restricted to 1/12, up to 120 days. That is, you have 90 days within the new year to bring a budget, and up to 130 days for an appropriation act to be in place. When the parliament has been dissolved, as in this case, Article 219(3) kicks in.
Normal expenditures such as the public servants' wages and routine government business is covered under Article 2193, the minister reiterated.
As you can see, wages were paid in January, wages were paid in February, wages will be paid in March, and up to when this problem continues, wages will be paid right through, quite frankly. So, as I said, the business of government has to continue.
Paul McAdam for InfoHub.
The interim orders granted by High Court Judge Franklin Holder remain in place, blocking a national recount of the votes cast in the March 2, 2020 general and regional elections. InfoHub was down at the court today. Here is a report.
The High Court admitted 4 interested parties in a judicial review of the decision to recount ballots. Private citizen Riaz Holadar's application was denied since it was a replication of those previously filed. GCOM's lawyer, Senior Counsel Neil Boston.
The court said what his affidavit has is repeating the same thing that Barra Jagdio's affidavit has, and his presence will not take the matter further. It's going to be everything that Jagdio says, he has repeated in his affidavit. So Jagdio can present the arguments, and they are represented by the same lawyer. So his application was dismissed.
The case before Judge Franklin Holder was brought by private citizen Yuliko Grace Moore. It seeks to block the Guyana Elections Commission from conducting a national recount of votes cast on March 2 at the general and regional elections. The parties that joined the case are the PPPC and UN United Guyana, Liberty and Justice Party, and the New Movement.
We're returning on Monday at 1 p.m. to consider an application for joinder of Moore's application with an application filed today by Barajagdio and Holigar.
GCOM had indicated its readiness to have a national recount after President David Granger and the opposition leader signed an aid memoir committing to the process. The recount process was to be overseen by a high-level team from CARICOM. Seneca Thorne, InfoHub.
Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs, Senior Counsel Basil Williams, has addressed the importance of the Public Health Ordinance Act in the country's efforts to contain the spread of the novel coronavirus, which has been declared a pandemic by the World Health Organization.
It makes provisions to deal with infectious diseases and infectious and/or contagious diseases. And it has an entire regime in the cases of public health emergencies such as this to enable a society to combat and prevent the spread of such a disease.
That was Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs, Senior Counsel Basil Williams. The Attorney General reiterated that the health of the general public is a priority.
I think the entire principle upon which this exercise is premised is that it is the general well-being of society that is of paramount importance, so that the individual's rights to some extent would be subordinated, even the constitutional rights, fundamental rights under the Constitution. There would be a bridge in cases of preventing the spread of infectious diseases. In terms of, in the interest of public health, you restrict the right to free movement, assembly, the liberty of the person.
For InfoHub, Gavin Lewis.
When the news returns, in light of the COVID-19 pandemic, Bank of Guyana encourages local financial institutions to offer relief to customers, and overseas-based Guyanese who wish to return home advised to contact embassies. Details of these stories and more after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Local financial institutions are being encouraged by the Bank of Guyana to offer relief to customers to counteract economic and financial fallout brought by COVID-19.
These include reduced interest rates on loans and credit cards, deferred loan payments, waived or reduced fees for banking transactions, and reduced in-person transactions. Measures for affected sectors include allowing banks to renegotiate credit facilities, to offer 3 months moratorium for non-performing accounts, to ensure foreign markets continue to function legitimately, and to guarantee an accommodative monetary stance to ensure continued economic growth. Scotiabank had already announced that from March 23 they will offer assistance to customers who have been impacted by COVID-19. Their loan payments can be deferred up to 6 months, first for a period of 3 months with the possibility of extension for a further 3 months. According to a release issued by the bank, the suspension covers loan payments, including mortgages, auto loans, personal loans, credit cards, and lines of credit. These customers are required to make contact with the bank. Meanwhile, GTT has been proactive in promoting social distancing by recommending customers utilize the mobile money bill payment system to pay their bills. As of April 17, 2020, the new bill payment deadline will be the 17th day of every month. A letter from GTT's Public Relations and Corporate Communications Officer Jasmine Harris noted that GTT retail outlets will be open, however, to ensure the safety of their customers and employees. There will be a reduction in the work hours from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. on weekdays. Persons are being encouraged to withhold transacting non-essential business until further notice. This will reduce long queues at banks and other business places. For InfoHub, Delicia Haynes.
Foreign Secretary Carl Greenidge recently slammed a mischievous Staubach News editorial that sought to cast doubt on Guyana's non-recognition of Venezuela's opposition leader Juan Guaido as interim president of the Spanish-speaking country. According to Foreign Secretary Greenidge, quote, while Guyana shared the concerns of the international community about the situation in Venezuela, our response to any question about recognition had to be tempered by the reality of the posture of the Venezuelan National Assembly, led by Guaido, end quote. This was in response to a Stabroek News editorial that linked Guyana's long-standing non-recognition of Guaido to that of a new position, supposedly fueled by new political decisions. The Foreign Secretary continued, quote, no state is obliged to pursue policies which are not in its national interest and which threaten its very existence, end quote. Greenidge stated that Juan Guaido has repeatedly sought to frustrate Guyana's pursuit of a judicial settlement in the border controversy by taking measures such as passing a decree in Venezuela's National Assembly in 2018 that claimed vast portions of Guyana's territory, both at land and at sea, in breach of international conventions. The Foreign Secretary described the editorial as mischievous and reiterated that the Guyana government remains committed to the legal processes of the International Court of Justice that will lead to a resolution of the border controversy. Amid the COVID-19 outbreak, overseas-based Guyanese have been advised to contact local consulates and embassies should they have interest in returning home. Here is Minister of Public Infrastructure, the Honorable David Patterson.
They will take your information and they will inform you if and when there's possibilities of a flight returning to Guyana.
According to Minister Patterson, considerations will be made to grant access to flights depending on the number of persons who have made contact with embassies abroad.
We don't have any scheduled flights as yet, but as the time goes on and as we get a full update of how many persons are where and how many persons need assistance, we will make that decision.
As of midnight March 18, 2020, both of the country's major airports, the Cheddi Jagan International Airport and the Eugene F. Correa International Airport, has been closed to international flights while domestic flights continue. The government has so far granted access for American Airlines and newcomer Eastern Airlines to land at CJIA for Americans seeking to return to the U.S. So far, Caribbean Airlines will only operate flights leaving Guyana for New York between March 20 through March 31. The airline has also received permission to assist Cubans in returning to their home country. For InfoHub, Delicia Haynes.
That's all for today. Connect with us on all of our social media platforms, including WhatsApp, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Much more news is on our website at dpi.gov.gy. Your bridge and weather reports are up next. Goodbye for now.